my God, they...
There's only one other animal that can cause damage like this, and that's another shark.
It starts in the womb. Predator becomes prey. Through ambush attacks,
I couldn't believe what we just saw.
giants stalking giants,
This could be more common, more widespread than we ever thought possible.
for millennia, sharks eating sharks. Queensland's Gold Coast, home to some of Australia's most famous surf breaks, and the highest variety of sharks in the world, more than 180 species. Hammerheads, tigers, bulls, and great white sharks are all found here. They're drawn to the warmer waters and the schools of fish that thrive here. In recent years, big shark numbers have increased. To protect surfers and swimmers, Queensland operates a shark control program. Nets and baited hooks called drumlines are deployed at key beaches to catch and help monitor sharks. In 2015, a local fisherman witnessed very unexpected behavior.
A bit of activity going on.
We're about a mile offshore and pulled up to this line, and you could see that it had been tangled up, and the float had a lot of weight put on it. It was squashed, you know.
Here's our baby.
You could feel the weight of the shark, but as it came up, it just didn't look long enough.
He's been chomped.
And then realised it was completely bitten in half. Something's just munched it.
Pretty big bite. Had to run in with the boys in grey suits.
It looked like a really big bite mark in it. It's huge. It's just come along and just taken a bite. Just smashed it to pieces.
And for Joel, it wasn't a one-off. For years since that first attack, Joel has seen more and more examples of shark-on-shark predation.
So it's probably another whaler or a couple of them. Then again, there's big cuts in there. They're a bit wider.
In the past few years, I haven't seen anything like it. There has been hundreds. It's like a daily occurrence now. This just seems to be what they're eating.
Mark Meekan is one of the world's leading shark biologists. He's convinced that shark-on-shark attacks like this one could be more common and widespread than we ever realized.
Look at these marks here on the skin. There's only one other animal that can cause damage like this, and that's another shark. Who's the perpetrator? Well, it could be another big hammerhead, a bull shark, a mako shark, or a tiger shark. Any one of those big four could have done that damage. These things are apex predators, and for good reason.
Sharks are vital members of the ocean food chain. For most species, fish and squid are on the menu, but they are also the ultimate opportunists. When offered another shark as a meal, they quickly show their cannibalistic behavior.
Could the very traits that make these things top-order predators be responsible for this dark side to shark behavior? We actually know very little about it, but as photos like this give us an insight into something that I think could easily be happening worldwide. It's not just one rogue shark attacking other sharks, or even one species of shark attacking other sharks. It's lots of different sharks turning on each other, given the right circumstances.
Along with what Joel is witnessing off the Queensland coast, similar reports are coming in from other parts of Australia. Off South Australia's Neptune Islands, divers film a white shark lunging at another white shark. In Queensland's Stradbroke Island, researchers photograph a huge white shark almost cut in half by two monster bites.
What an amazing photo. I mean, this is an enormous shark. It's 12 feet long, but look at the size of that bite. It's absolutely massive. That's an immense amount of power you need to take a bite out of another shark like that. You have to be pretty big yourself. Honestly, if I was a betting man, I might even pick another great white shark for that one. For a shark to go after one of these 12-foot white sharks is an incredibly risky business. You're attacking an animal that has a very good defensive set of teeth. Not only that, in your attack, you reveal yourself to other predators. But a hook shark, that's a completely different story.
Fish caught on a line will send out irregular pressure waves and electrical signals. They can travel for up to half a mile through water. Sharks have highly tuned senses for picking up these signals. So a struggling animal is an easy target for a passing predator. The vibrations pass through thousands of pores in their skin and into long fluid-filled canals running the length of their bodies. The movement disturbs thousands of tiny hairs inside, detecting the size and direction of the disturbance.
These animals are hardwired to take advantage of any other animal in distress, even their own. Now, the situations we've been looking at here, they're man-made. Those animals have been on long lines, so they're essentially easy prey.
Anglers globally are also witnessing firsthand sharks eating sharks. This cannibalism is a form of depredation, and it's becoming a big problem for the fishing economy. Sharks are learning and remembering where fishing boats go to catch fish. Off Louisiana,
Look at that one! That!
Ryan Wilsey captured this footage of a 1,400-pound tiger shark attacking an 8-foot hammerhead caught on a fishing line.
It's a hooked hammerhead. But what's interesting about this is the way that the tiger shark's attacked it. It's taken it on from the belly. It's avoided the other end, the mouth end, with all the sharp teeth that may present some danger to it. And it's essentially incapacitated. It's bitten the gut out and it's waited for the shark to bleed out. At that point, it's come back in and started to essentially consume the corpse. Coming in from below, where the animal is vulnerable, silhouetted against the surface, that's where the animal is actually likely to be struck. Not only that, you've got all the vital organs in the gut. One bite of those, and your prey is incapacitated.
It's a simple meal that demands much less energy to catch.
What I'm interested to know is, does this happen out in the wild when these other animals are free swimming? Well, I suspect it does, and probably a lot more than we think. And there's growing evidence worldwide to suggest that that's the case.
In South Africa, at the KwaZulu-Natal Sharks Board, scientists have been conducting the world's largest study of shark stomach contents.
Right, that's it? Okay.
For white sharks, the most common prey items that we find in the stomach are other small sharks.
In fact, over 41% of the contents found inside white shark stomachs along this coast are shark or ray. In bull sharks, the percentage is even higher, 50%. Makos, 60%. It's clear South Africa's big sharks are relying on other smaller sharks for food. But do these big sharks ever attack one another?
Pre-caudal length 2.2, total length 2.77.
This juvenile white shark was found tangled in nets just 45 miles from the lab.
Here you can see the right-hand lobe of the liver. In many sharks, the livers can weigh up to 1/3 of the body weight. Here's the stomach, certainly something interesting inside. Feels very hard, flat, feels like a fin. Here we can see a glimpse of what we've got inside. It's very definitely a fin of a large shark. I would say based on the size of this fin, we're looking at a shark that's well over 2 meters, so something in the region of 8 to 10 feet, which is almost the same size as this white shark.
Jeremy will never know if the victim was ambushed out in open ocean or already caught in a line or in a net. However, it's more proof white sharks will take on huge prey.
The white shark has such efficient cutting teeth which enable it to tackle very large prey. And it is not surprising that we find a situation as we've got here, where a large shark may come across another large shark, and if it can ambush it, take it by surprise, there's no reason why it shouldn't attack it and feed on it.
These are really interesting results. Typically, though, it's really difficult to draw concrete conclusions from. The sharks that are in the stomachs of those other sharks could have come off the drum lines, could have come from the nets. But there's also the possibility that that actually happened when those other sharks were free swimming. And that's really where the science is at the moment. It's trying to nail down the possibility between the two. Who's chasing who? Who's eating who? Who's out there, making a meal of the other?
Around the world, shark-on-shark attacks are on the rise. In 2004, evidence of great white cannibalism was discovered. An old research tag found ashore in Western Australia came from a 9-foot female called Alpha. She was tagged the year before off the southwest corner of the Australian continent. Alpha's data showed that she'd made an incredible 3,000-mile journey right around Western Australia's coast before something shocking may have happened to her. On day 88, Alpha abruptly descended to a depth of nearly 2,000 feet. And the ambient temperature surrounding her tag also spiked from 46 degrees to 78.
So that sudden change in temperature can only mean one thing. That tag that was on the outside of that shark is now in the stomach of another predator. So at first, it was suspected that it might have been killer whales that actually ate the shark. They're known predators of sharks. It's been witnessed quite a few times. But they can be excluded because their internal body temperature is simply too high.
With killer whales ruled out, it left only one other possible culprit: another huge white shark.
Sharks generally only eat prey that's no bigger than half their size. So if Alpha was 9 foot long, you're talking a very large shark that probably ate her. We're talking something in the order of maybe as much as 16 feet.
It's more tantalizing evidence that white sharks could be cannibals. Why would they take on something so risky that could bite them back?
I think the thing that surprised everybody about this data is that something was game enough to take on a 9-foot white shark. I mean, these things are serious predators themselves, and we regard them as top of the food chain. But clearly, there's another shark out there that thought the rewards were great enough for it to do that. It's a fascinating insight, and it raises a possibility that there's a lot more going on with these sharks in terms of predation, in terms of interactions, that we really have very little idea about. And that's the next frontier in shark science.
Biologists in the Bahamas are looking at the mangrove swamps in Bimini, a nursery for baby lemon sharks. Every year, scores of pregnant females return to these shallow waters where they were born to give birth. The environment is a lot tougher than it looks. This pup is less than 2 feet long, one of a litter of up to 17 pups. Scientists have been studying the lemons here for more than 20 years. They found the pups can stay up to 8 years here, learning to hunt and hide among the twisted mangrove roots.
Of 100 newborn sharks born in June of one year, by June the next year, around 50 are left. So 50% of the cohort in every year are eaten or die from starvation.
Many of the young become prey for older lemons.
Everything seems to kick off at high tide. As the water rises, it basically gives access to shallow water areas for big predators to come in as well. That's when these big lemon sharks come in and start patrolling and cruising the outskirts of those mangroves.
The young instinctively hug the mangrove roots, which offer some protection. If they stray too far, their older cousins are waiting for them with open mouths.
For a baby lemon shark that's in close proximity to a big adult, if they haven't seen it before it's seen them, they've got no chance. We can burst attack very quickly and ambush really effectively. I've seen firsthand bite marks, I've seen adults chasing juveniles, we know it's happening.
When one species eats its own young, this is clear evidence that true shark cannibalism goes on in the wild. In biological terms, what could be the benefits of this behavior?
The one great advantage that an adult lemon shark has is insider knowledge on where the juveniles are hiding and what tactics they use to avoid predators, because it's been one itself. And that gives it an extra advantage and probably why they then pick off the juveniles of their own species. What's happening here in Bimini isn't unique. Throughout the world, in other nursery areas, big sharks are eating little sharks. It comes down to needing to eat. Why would they not take advantage of that resource?
Lemon sharks have learned to use their own upbringing and family dynamics to guarantee an easy meal later in life. But there's another shark that starts a whole lot earlier than that. Its cannibal battles start in the womb. Sand tigers, also known as gray nurse sharks, look fierce, but have a relatively docile reputation. Except when it comes to eating other sharks. This large coastal species is easily recognized by its jaw filled with multiple rows of razor-sharp teeth that formed in utero.
In the 1970s, when scientists first started looking at reproduction in sand tigers, they noticed they always gave birth to 2 offspring.
Damian Chapman has made sand tiger sharks a major part of his research.
But earlier in pregnancy, they would actually find 12 or 14 embryos. So the big question was, what was happening to all of those other embryos? One big clue was one of the researchers actually stuck his fingers into the womb of a sand tiger that was dead and actually got bitten by one of the embryos.
DNA samples reveal that the embryos were often sired by multiple fathers. The litter forms inside 2 separate wombs, each with up to 7 embryos inside.
What happens is the oldest of those embryos is actually a little bit ahead in terms of development of the others, develops teeth and eyes a bit earlier, and once it's got those things, it actually starts hunting and killing all of its siblings. So they're cannibals before birth, which is really wild.
Just 4 inches long, the largest pup in each womb devours its sibling, growing bigger and stronger with each kill.
This cannibalism inside the womb, as far as we know, doesn't happen in any other shark. And what's really cool about it is during that period where they're hunting and killing their siblings, when they eat them, they're actually achieving the fastest growth rate in pregnancy. And they actually get to be really big. These sand tiger pups, when they're born, they're about 3 feet long, which is very close to the same size as a white shark being born. And that's from a much smaller mother.
It's the ultimate story of survival of the fittest.
You come out a skilled hunter, very large, so you're not vulnerable to other predators, to other sharks that are going to eat you when you go out in the world, and you're good to go.
And no surprise, the young sand tiger sharks never lose their taste for shark meat.
An aquarium in Seoul, South Korea, a shark attacked another shark. Wow. You can see the lower body of the smaller shark hanging out from her mouth. The aquarium believes the attack was caused by a turf war.
It took the 8-year-old female 21 hours to eat the 5-year-old male. She started with his head and slowly consumed the rest of his body.
Now, this is a really interesting case. Here's a shark that's clearly well fed in an aquarium, but it's decided to eat its tank mate. Why? We really have no idea. But the real question that provokes is, how often does that happen out in the wild?
It turns out sharks have been eating each other forever. One long extinct species left us a clue.
Take a look at this. This is Orthocanthus. It's a primitive shark. 300 million years ago, these things grew up to about 10 feet long and roamed coastal waters, much as bull sharks do today. And this is its fossilized poo. Recently, scientists took a slice through a fossil just like this one, put it under the microscope, and this is what they saw. Baby shark teeth, and not just any shark. These are Orthocanthus teeth. That shows that 300 million years ago, these were cannibal sharks. Shark-on-shark predation is a fundamental trait of these animals. It's been around for millions and millions of years. It's had a huge impact on the evolution and behavior of these animals.
It's not always the larger sharks pursuing the smaller ones. In some cases, a single deep water shark uses its size to gain the upper hand.
Most predators like to take on prey that are smaller than them. That's pretty much a universal law that you see in nature. It's different for cookie-cutter sharks. They seem quite happy to go after prey that's much larger than themselves, and that is something that's very unique, especially among sharks.
At just 1/10 its size, even a great white shark can become prey to the cookie cutter.
We really know very little about this shark due to the fact that it lives in open ocean, where it's just very difficult to see. We believe that these sharks live pretty deep during the day, perhaps a few hundred meters, and then are coming up to the surface at night. but we're really just guessing what they do based on sort of anecdotal evidence and bits and pieces here and there.
This is one of the few shots ever captured of this deep ocean shark. Relative to the size of their jaw, they have the largest teeth of any shark. Their round shape leaves a distinct wound that gives them their name.
We can see signs of them having taken bites from a huge range of animals in open ocean, everything from orcas to great white sharks to swordfish, tunas, and even submarines and our own oceanographic equipment. So there's truly nothing that is safe from cookie cutter sharks. The big question for scientists studying this animal then, of course, is how do they do it?
With X-rays, layer by layer, its secrets are revealed.
Wow, that's incredible. So if we look at the jaw here, all the teeth are fused together and they form this one band, which is very different from other sharks. They don't normally have that feature. You can also see they have these large fleshy lips. And then when you look at the tongue, you see they have this huge tongue, and they have a very large muscle attached to the tongue, which is actually much larger than you would see in other sharks.
3D modeling provides a window into what it takes to make such a precision bite, time after time.
It strongly suggests that these animals are doing something that requires generating suction, that they're using that teeth to bite on, and then they're generating negative pressure, so essentially it's stuck onto the prey. The question then becomes, what does it do next? Traditionally, we've thought that they are spinning. They're rotating the whole body to take out this sort of perfect plug of tissue. But what we're seeing here, there's problems with that model. The rest of the musculature doesn't seem really that well designed to rotate the animal. Another idea may be that the lower jaw sort of extends upwards and forwards and is essentially acting similar to like an ice cream scoop or a melon scoop and removing a plug of tissue. It's a new insight into how these animals are taking bites out of these animals that are much, much larger than themselves.
How does this parasitic predator get close enough to latch on?
If you take a look at the skin along the lower surface of a cookie cutter, it's covered with these cells called photophores, which emit light.
These glow-in-the-dark cells run the length of its underbody, broken only at a band behind the shark's head. The cookie cutter risks its own life, using its body as glow-in-the-dark bait.
A large predator may think perhaps it's a smaller school of fish, and then come over to the shark, and then that's when it's getting nailed.
After latching on, it scoops out a plug of flesh. It doesn't kill its victim, but leaves a scar for life. The warm waters of Florida provide the ideal laboratory for scientists studying cannibalism in sharks. Every February, tens of thousands of black-tip sharks descend on the Sunshine State. It's one of the biggest gatherings of sharks on Earth. Could this annual assembly of black-tips be triggering a frenzy of shark-on-shark attacks?
Oh, right there, finning. Look at the fins right there.
Stephen Kajira has been studying the black-tips for almost 15 years.
Basically, they're swimming away from the cold water up north to spend the winters down here where the water's a little more comfortable for them.
Tagging the black-tips with tiny acoustic tags, Stephen monitors where they go, and he's noticed a strange pattern. When the black-tips arrive, sightings of Florida's big hunters also go up.
It's probably not a coincidence. One of the reasons that these black-tips are coming in so close to the beach like this is probably to stay out of the way of some of these bigger predators.
Stephen works with a team of scientists from Florida International University.
Yeah, they're really packed in super close to shore.
They're conducting the first study to find out if they're hunted by bigger sharks.
So in Florida, we're pretty lucky because we've got some species of really big sharks here. We have tiger sharks, we've got bull sharks, and we've got great hammerhead sharks. And occasionally, even white sharks will come through. And it's our guess that at least some of the species are targeting these blacktip sharks.
Like the bull shark, a formidable carnivore that feeds in these tropical waters, both salty and fresh. The team suspects blacktips might be an important part of their diet, especially here in Florida.
You might think a 5.5-foot long blacktip shark would be a dangerous prey item to attack, but if you can come in super fast and maneuverable, you can probably get it before that blacktip could turn and bite you.
Evidence of this behavior was documented in amateur footage caught by fisherman K.C. Gonzalez. He was kayak fishing off the Florida coast when he felt something take his line.
About a 4-foot blacktip. Just before about to release it, it made like one more dive down. And as we're watching, out of the blue, you see this shadowy figure coming up. And just by looking at the shape of its nose, you know, okay, this is a bull shark. And then all of a sudden, it took a chomp right out of it.
Oh my God, look at him! Oh!
And then more bull sharks start showing up out of nowhere. You know, before you didn't see them, and then all of a sudden, they're there. And it just turned into a feeding frenzy. You know, we're watching and just astounded that we couldn't believe what we just saw.
Bitten in two, it takes just 60 seconds for the bulls to eat the blacktip. Like the drumline cases off the Gold Coast in Australia, this shark was caught on a line where not as much energy is required for the hunt. Bull sharks are known to opportunistically hunt free-swimming blacktips, especially when they're in big numbers. But there's one species that has perfected the technique: the great hammerhead. Just days earlier, the team filmed the aftermath of an attack. A 12-foot hammerhead carries a blacktip off in its jaws before a second, even bigger hammer moves in and steals it. It's a rare insight into how sharks hunt each other in the wild. The great hammerhead could easily be the most finely tuned shark hunter on the planet. Giannis has joined forces with Aaron Spencer, who specializes in the hunting behavior and diet of these big sharks.
We know that especially during the blacktip migration that happens right here off South Florida, the great hammerheads will go after those blacktips. We're hopefully able to quantify why that's such an advantageous thing for the great hammerheads.
Great hammerheads are probably the best example of sharks that hunt other sharks. When you look at diet studies, you can see sometimes that 80% of their diet might be sharks and rays, and that's very rare amongst other shark species, which often the diets are dominated by fish.
My work specifically is really interested in essentially how many calories does a great hammerhead need to eat in order to survive. We're going to take measurements of the shark. I use a lot of different types of data and a lot of different types of technology.
By mounting data collection devices called biologgers, she's able to track acceleration, speed, depth, and temperature.
One of the most valuable pieces of data I'm able to get from the biologgers is actually speed. And that's because for animals like great hammerheads, movement is the most costly part of their day. I have estimates of if they're going at this speed, at this temperature, how many calories would they need to eat? One of our average great hammerhead sharks would only need to eat about 1 blacktip per month in order to survive and thrive.
For hammerheads, sharks pack a high-calorie one-time meal, and that's why they're choosing to eat other sharks.
The benefit we've found of going after these sharks is that you only have to eat very infrequently, and you don't have to spend as much time foraging.
With underwater footage, the team can get a glimpse into this behavior and pattern. Today, they plan to deploy a 360-degree camera.
They give us this really shark's eye view of what's going on in front of the shark, above the shark, and beside the shark.
To catch a hammerhead, the team has sought out the expertise of a seasoned fisherman, Greg Bogdan, who has been catching big fish and sharks for 40 years.
There's a big school of jack crevalles.
Working with someone like Greg is so helpful because Greg has been a sport fisherman his whole life. He knows where to find the sharks, and he's out on the water every single day.
I had some good reports of the fishermen that were out here yesterday. They saw some bigger hammerheads and there was a lot of bull shark activity. So today we're going to try and get some action here offshore and see what we can chum up.
We have to put this on basically by hand. Goes onto the dorsal fin like this. So we have to open that up. So Greg's going to try and get the hammerhead right up to the boat.
Unlike other catching methods,
these guys got some pretty sharp teeth.
Greg doesn't use hooks or lines, making it much less stressful for the animal.
We got plenty of food. If you feed them, they will come.
Hammer time. Double hammer.
Double hammer.
Nice thing about hammerheads is they have a giant dorsal fin. They're also coming in really fast, and that makes it tricky.
All right.
You can usually get them. Look how many there are. How cool. Easy for me if I'm on this side. So it's a little tricky because there's several swimming around, but they can be a bit cautious. So you assume that you throw in some food and they're going to automatically go for it.
This way, this way.
And with the bull sharks coming in here, they're going to start being a little more hesitant.
Bull.
Hammer right behind him.
That hammerhead is not happy with that bull shark.
There he comes. Just out of reach.
Just out of reach.
A pack of bulls can make even the biggest hammerheads a bit skittish.
Boom!
Are you going to celebrate?
Mr. the... All right, yeah, nice.
Giannis finally manages to clamp the 360-degree camera onto a 10-foot-long hammerhead.
Should be on for a few hours now, and then we'll pop off and float to the surface, and hopefully we'll get it back.
With the 360, we get to see so much more. And there's a lot we can gain from that, not just what the shark is seeing and how they're interacting with their environment, but what habitats they're hanging out in, what other animals are around at a given time. If we're really, really lucky, we might even be able to see what they're eating. And we're gonna listen for that tags. You saw it had a little antenna on it, and it's sending out a little radio signal at a certain frequency, and we can listen for it. I'm hearing it more this way.
There it is, there it is.
Oh, it's right
Just
at the
off
surface.
9
Yep.
o'clock. Just off your port.
All right, keep eyes on it.
You back up this way, right? Wait, backs up this way? Yeah.
All right, coming right out the port side. Got it?
Got it.
Nice, woo! Nice.
Cool footage.
Awesome. All right, successful tag deployment.
This is actually the first time we've tried this tag out. We've been using the regular camera tags for decades, but that only gives us a view of what the shark sees directly in front of it. So we're missing a lot of information. The only way to really sort of know for sure what these animals are eating is you've got to catch it on camera. I'm actually very excited to see what this will look like.
Images from the 360-degree camera at first reveal nothing. Then, other sharks quickly come into view.
What we see from this tag is how they interact with each other when we're not around, when we're not interfering with their behavior.
I just wasn't quite sure what we were going to see, but it absolutely paid off. We were able to have awesome views of not only the habitat around the shark, but the other animals that were in the area, including other great hammerheads.
This is just the beginning of this type of research. With more cameras in place, the team hopes to catch sharks eating sharks. As a complement to the 360, the use of drones is transforming the study of these creatures.
I use online videos that people upload of drone footage or footage from the beach of great hammerheads hunting, and there's a lot that I can learn from that.
From the beaches, drone operators are capturing groundbreaking footage of hammerhead and blacktip sharks.
We can actually see how they chase and try to hunt their blacktip shark prey. Here, for example, you find them cruising along the beaches, very shallow water, because that's where they know their prey are. For the first time, we've been able to get answers by looking at footage from these drones. Blacktip is a large, energetically profitable meal, but you still have to catch them, and they're not an easy prey item to catch.
But it's worth the effort for the calorie-rich energy a blacktip can provide for the hammerhead.
I estimated, based on videos, only 15% of the time are these great hammerheads actually successfully able to capture that blacktip.
For predators like these big sharks, hunting isn't easy. You might get this impression these animals are perfect predators and can get food whenever they want. That's not true. In fact, if you look at big predators, they fail a lot. Doesn't matter whether we're talking about sharks or lions or wolves, it's a lot of failure.
If you're a great hammerhead shark and you have the option to eat a pretty decent sized blacktip or maybe a 1-pound reef fish, by going after that blacktip, you're going to get a lot more prey for your buck.
Great hammerheads are specialists that have evolved to eat other sharks. But the food chains and systems in the oceans are constantly evolving, with climate change driving shifts in species migrations.
We know that these blacktips are a really important food source for the great hammerheads here in South Florida, but we also suspect that there's maybe some changes in that blacktip migration. We're seeing fewer and fewer year over year. Now, that's going to have an effect on the food availability for great hammerheads. But that's why it's so important to get all of this data about the great hammerhead movement and behavior, so that hopefully we could try to predict how they might respond in these changing conditions and help us protect this critically endangered predator.
One method alone isn't enough. All these studies combined help with their understanding of why cannibalism is actually an important part of marine ecology.
So you might think of cannibalism being bad, but sharks eating other sharks is a critical component of the ecosystem. And if those sharks weren't around, that cascades all the way down to the very bottom of the food chain. The entire ecosystem could potentially change if you didn't have these sharks eating other sharks.